Hello and welcome back to Chatting with Chaz. I'm so glad you're here with me today. I'm excited to sit with you at the table, our new studio, our new place, and talk to you about dating at 50. Last week you tuned in, so many of you, and thank you for that. And we talked about 15 to 50. What happened during that time? Well, as you know, in season 1, a lot happened and it struck a nerve and it touched you. It met you kind of in the gaps of life. Actually, there was someone talking about it for the first time. You heard someone talk about something that happened to you and it clicked. So I'm so glad you're here and you're continuing to tune in with us. There's so much to share in season 2. You know, season 1 was getting to know me, my story, my chapters, my challenges, my victories, my blessings, my family, my call, my brand, my divorce, my understanding who I am, my health journey. You learned a lot about me. You also met some of my friends. You met a therapist who is a rock star and talked about therapy and social media and talked about, therapy is a good thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's a healing thing. You met a friend of mine who is in the wellness space and he was talking about my health journey and what to eat and how to eat and how much to sleep, and just we covered everything, and that was one of our top episodes last season. You also met a good friend of mine, Heather McMahon, a comedian, because she just makes me laugh, and sometimes in life you just have to laugh, and that's what we do during good times and bad times. So you met my friends, you heard my story. This season you're going to meet more friends, you're going to hear more stories, and today I'm going to start with this story. Dating at 50. I mean, I never dreamed I would be sitting here today. If you asked me ever, I never dreamed I'd be sitting here talking about dating at 50. And you know what? Isn't that life? It just isn't always what it seems or what you've dreamed. And sometimes life will throw you a curveball. And it's what we do with those curveballs. It's how we play the field. And I'm going to tell you literally how I played the field, not expecting to ever play the fields again. So you heard last week, life changed. And I believe to understand where I am today, to understand how grateful I am and how excited I am and how healed I am, you had to know where I came from. So that is what you learned and you heard about last week, the healing. Now, feeling healed, feeling like maybe I could step out in faith and courage and try something new, do something different. You're going to hear my story. Because the number one question I get, well, number two maybe. Number one is, how did I meet my fiance? Number two is, how did you have the courage to start dating and open yourself up? You know my story because you tuned in, and you know I had trust issues. You know I had a lot of healing that had to take place. You know there was a lot of trauma. So how do I open myself up again? We touched in that last episode. Now that I have, here's how we started. So you heard how we met. We met at the beach, and you know that the beach has always been a place of refuge for me. So I just think it's such a God wink, which is just like him just kind of giving me a little nudge that we actually met through our children, number one, and at my favorite place, at the beach. Now, we met there, we started talking on the phone, we started texting, we started developing a friendship. And our friendship was beyond just a friendship. There was a instant connection. And it was as if I've known him my whole life. And I think he would say the same. He might come on at the end. I'm not sure yet. So we'll see. Or maybe, well, definitely next episode. But there was a connection. And it was definitely not just a physical connection. It was emotional. It was mental. There was a connection in our values, in our faith, in our person, and in our passions, and we connected. So we developed this beautiful friendship. We developed a like a synergy actually, and we just communicated. And we were vulnerable with each other, and we shared our pain. We shared our failures, both of us being divorced. We shared, what do you think didn't work? And what do you think works? And we both could kind of step aside and learn from that time of failures. And we would say things like, next time I go in this direction, this is how I'm going to do it. Or this is what I know is really important. And we would just kind of talk about that and really be honest and vulnerable. And that was really refreshing, especially coming from a place where I really didn't trust people, especially men, but I didn't really let my guard down and put my walls down. I started to do that. I mentioned that in last episode. I do have notes because I feel like a lot of this is super important. And I normally do not use notes, but I don't want to forget some really important things because I think as you venture into a new relationship at 50, at 60, at 40, at 30. I mean, no one plans on getting divorced or no one plans on not being married by a certain time. So I don't know where this sits with you, but post divorce, here I am. This is how it began. So I do know this. The self-awareness for me was huge. Before you can open yourself wholly up to someone, I think being self-aware was really critical in my healing. One of the things I really learned is that I put myself off and I didn't make time for myself. I didn't make time for my health. I didn't make time for my passions. I made time for work. I made time for kids. I made time for everything else but myself. So I did start considering myself and making time for myself. In that self awareness, I realized that I had kind of disconnected with what I felt was important, what I wanted, what I felt was love, what I felt was, a healthy relationship. So I really wanted to connect on what I didn't have versus what I wanted. And in this time, I really, really developed that. I knew what I wanted and I knew what I would not settle for. And I really believe as a woman, you have to draw some lines and you have to realize at some point, I will not settle for anything less than this. And if you think your expectation is too high, you are wrong. Have those expectations, be reasonable, be prayerful, be thoughtful in your expectations, but do not settle. I hear way too many women that are talking to me about dating at 50, dating at 55, dating at 40. They're just like, listen, it is lean, it is mean, it is not good out here. And they'll share their stories and they're in this world of playing games and like, well, maybe I shouldn't call or maybe I should wait 3 days. And I'm like, listen, no, if somebody wants to spend time with you, they will make time for you. Period. End of story. Do not lower your standards. So we'll move on from there. Just a little side note. Okay. So I had a high standard because it's like when you come from the worst, you can kind of accept mediocrity. It's mediocre. But I wanted more than mediocre. I wanted the best. And I felt like it was worth it to wait for the best and to get the best and make sure that this was the best. So don't lower your expectations. I just threw that in here. I strayed from my notes, but it's important. So, as we were building our relationship, our friendship, we would do walks, we would do talks, we were texting, we were on the phone, but we decided to venture out in person. We would go on a bike ride and we would take these long bike rides. He'd be ahead of me, I'd be behind him, or vice versa. And when I was in front, I always hate it because I'm like, is he looking at my butt? How does my butt look? I mean, I'm a girl. I was thinking those things, but we're like, putting our best self out there, and we were bike riding, and then we'd bike ride and then we'd stop and take a break and we would talk, and we just would just be friends. And so there was lots of times where it was going to the gym together, or just one day he took me like indoor skydiving, or went to downtown Atlanta and we went to this record store and we just meandered through the record store and looked at albums. It was just outings. It was not like a date. It was just like, hey, let's hang out. I can't even tell you when our actual first date was, but then it kind of started evolving. And I remember he asked me to go to the movies. He actually called me and we were hanging out. We were friends. I was decorating his house, but we hadn't really crossed over yet. And I remember he called me and he goes, it was like a Friday morning. I remember it was a Friday morning and we went for a walk, and then he left. He had come to my townhouse and we walked around my neighborhood, and he left, and then he called me right back and he's like, hey, so let me just ask you, like, can I like plan a date for us? And we went to movies, dinner and a movie, and it was just really sweet. And I was like, okay, this is like a date. I remember getting dressed up. I wanted to be super cute. I wore a cute pair of jeans and a tank top, like, So, anyway, he walked me to my door, kissed me on the cheek. And we started kind of venturing into this dating kind of season. So, what does that look like? That's him planning things. And I do think you shouldn't settle for less. Like, you don't have to plan the things when you've got the right person. So he was planning things and he was kind of setting the pace. I think he is a good reader of me. he just sees me and he reads me, and he was kind of just following like my lead emotionally, how I was feeling, getting comfortable, and he just played it beautifully. Played it in the most perfect way, not like played me, but played it. He just took it slow, and that was perfect. So we had our a relationship established. We were doing adventures together, bike riding, walking, doing little things here and there. We started going on a date. And then one day I went to his house and we were talking about the weekend. And he's like, "What do you want to do this weekend?" And I'm like, I mean, every weekend we had fun. And most of it was just the everyday stuff, like going for a walk or going to the farmer's market or, taking a bike ride. I mean, we were kind of in a little routine and we loved being active together. A picnic. I mean, we just did really simple, sweet things. I remember I made him a picnic once. He was so grateful for a little, like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in a picnic basket. And I'm like, he loved it. And it's just, we went roller skating and we had the best time because that's one of his favorite things. And we just had fun together and we still just have fun together. So, doing all these cute little things. So, I'm at his place and it's like Friday afternoon or Thursday. I think it was like Thursday afternoon. And he's like, "Listen, I have a crazy idea." He's like, "Actually, I'm going to back up off notes. I was shopping for men's apparel and I asked him to come with me to this men's market." It was kind of a bold move, actually. And I was like, "Why don't you come with me and we'll go shopping for the men's apparel and we'll hang out. And, it'll just be like this little thing. Do you want to go?" And he's like, "Sure." And we went to the men's apparel in North Carolina. It was super weird, and we laughed about it. We had a lot of laughs and we went to dinner that night and we stayed at a hotel for the first time. Nothing happened. We were just friends and we went back to Atlanta. And I remember just feeling like so safe with him. And I just thought he is such a gentleman. And we had like an amazing time. It was the first time we really had that one-on-one time. And I remember just thinking like, I just loved that. And I just loved being with him. And it was like the first time for a long, like not just 3 or 4 hours here or there. So it was shortly after that he said, "Hey, I have this idea. I'd love to just go away for the weekend." His parents always used to go to the Biltmore. And he's like, "There's a great little inn there. Do you want to go to the Biltmore?" Now, a lot of my faith is everything to me. I am a Christian and I really was like, "I need to think about this." But I had invited him to North Carolina, but to me, it was like a working trip. This felt different. This felt like a romantic trip. So I was like, okay. It was an immediate yes because I felt safe with him. I had that trip right before, and I just knew he was a gentleman and I was good. He also knew because we've talked about things, where I stood, where he stood, how he wanted to honor me and all the things. So I was like, "Yes, let's go." He planned it like in 5 minutes. The next thing you know, the next morning, we're zooming off to the Biltmore Inn, I think it's called Biltmore Estate. Now, this is the first time we've really spent like alone time without we were at market most of the time on that trip to North Carolina and we were busy and it was exhausting and this was not work. This was togetherness. This was we're going to spend time together. And I remember driving with him up to the Biltmore and we stopped at like a little antique market and we just walked around. We had time with each other. My phone wasn't going crazy. Everybody at the office knew that I was away, and I hadn't done that. I had never gone away. I hadn't gone away without my kids forever. Like, it just didn't happen. So that was like my first time that was a non-working trip going away. It was a big deal. So we go and we just had a beautiful time just driving up there. It's like October-ish. It's beautiful. No, it wasn't October. It was like September-ish. It was just a beautiful trip. We get there and we get to the hotel and he gets this beautiful suite so that we had space if I wanted to be here or there. And I walked into the room and there was just a whole like red roses and just thoughtfulness. And I just remember thinking, he is so thoughtful. And he's like, I just want to be with you. And I was and he's going to probably be embarrassed I say this. And I'm like, listen, I mean, I just going to a hotel with a man, it was like a big deal. And I go, just for the record, like I have my period and it's like a crime scene. And he was like, I'm not here to try to sleep with you. Like, that's not, I just want to spend time with you. So we go and we spent the most amazing time undistracted, my phone not going crazy. I didn't go on social media. My kids knew where I was. They knew I was safe. They knew I was okay. We talked. We walked. We walked through the Biltmore estate. We talked about this beautiful home. We talked about the gardens. We strolled through the gardens. We just got to know each other and it was beautiful. And I just needed time with him. Like we were just venturing into this. And I just thought, okay, I just want to know more. I just want to spend more time. And he felt the same way. So Sunday morning, we're having breakfast. By the way, totally embarrassing, but I did have like a major crime scene moment. It was everywhere. It's just part of being a girl. Should I have not shared that? We could maybe edit that. But it was embarrassing. But it's real. And it's just like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, I've shared with you, like, being 50, dating is crazy, but so is menopause or whatever it is. I don't know. But that was just wild. So, but he was like a champ and I was horrified. And he was like, it's okay. Like, it's fine. Like, and he was unreal. So anyway, we have a great time. It's Sunday morning. We're at breakfast and he's like, I've just had a really nice time. I wasn't sure what to think because of the crime scene and everything else. But he's like, I had the best time. And he goes, this is the thing I do. When I'm on a trip, I plan the next trip. And I was like, oh, that's like, I love that. That's a great idea. And he's like, so I think we should plan the next trip. And I'm like, well, I mean, I've had the best time. I would love to. And what I really loved is it was just uninterrupted time. I remember he took me, I'm all over the place with this, but it was such a sweet time. We went on a wine tasting and I don't drink and he knows that, but it's like something they do at the Biltmore Estate. But I was like, I'd like to try it. I mean, I don't drink because I don't want to or I feel like it's a bad thing. I just don't like the taste. So maybe if I taste some, I would like it. So I basically went to this wine tasting. We had a great time. It was very educational for me, but it made me so tired. I got back to the room and I passed out and was sound asleep by like 8:00. So not a lot of fun. Then waking up in a crime scene, it was crazy. But he was like, I just want to spend more time with you. And I was like, I just want to spend more time with you. So he's like, let's plan a trip. So I'm like, okay. And I think he's going to forget, right? So we pack up, we get in the car, we head to Atlanta. Now, on our way to Atlanta, he was going to take me when we left there. I'm going to meet his entire family. It's his mom's birthday, and I'm going to meet his mom for the first time. And I've heard so much about her, and I'm going to kind of meet everybody. I know his kids at this point a little bit because we met through his kids, but his sisters, like everybody. So it's like, okay, I'm going to meet the family. So, but on the way, he's like, let's plan our trip. Well, I'm thinking like we're going to go to, I don't know, Charleston or maybe Tybee Island in Georgia, Sea Island, like Rosemary. I don't know. And he's like, what if we go to Italy? Like one of the things he said when we were really good friends and in the friend zone, he's like, listen, you should get a passport. It's just important. I mean, I can't believe you don't have the passport. I don't know if a lot of you know, but I never had a passport, never left the country until a year ago, literally, like now, like a year ago today. I never left the country. So he was like, you should get a passport. And I was like, okay. And he's like, no, you should. And then I kind of just let it go. And then one day we were hanging out and he's like, give me your laptop. He goes, we need to get a passport. You need to fill this out. Okay, we're getting you a passport. So I got a passport. It was ready to go. He told me to have it on the ready. So I had the passport. He goes, let's go to Italy. You have got to see Italy. You will love it. The way you love design, the way you love the Biltmore, how you love architecture. You've got to go. Maybe we'll go on a cruise and I'll give you a little sampling of Italy and you'll just kind of get a whole, little sampling of the world. And I was like, Italy, I'm just stuck on Italy. And so he plans this beautiful trip. A lot of you followed along. And that was the trip that I kind of announced that I was dating someone. No one knew that we had been hanging out for about a year and a half prior. So it was like newsflash, and all of a sudden she's going to Italy. But this was after I had met my best friend. And so now this is a trip that we're going to spend time. So the whole drive to Atlanta, it's literally planned. By the time we get to his mom's house, He walks in, we all meet. They're lovely. His sisters are like, I know you. I love your business. Da 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 da. And then he's like, yeah, we're going to Italy. We're taking a cruise. So he planned a 7-day cruise in the car. Like, what? And then he called Delta. He got our tickets for the flight. And then it was just all handled. And then he says, I mean, if we're going to be in Italy, it's a long trip. So he's like, we pick up the cruise in Venice. We should definitely go a few days early and see Venice. And I don't know. I mean, Amsterdam's over there. We should just fly from Barcelona where the cruise ends and then just go to Amsterdam. We'll fly home from Amsterdam, but let's stay there a few days. So it became like a 2-week trip, which is a big deal. Not only the fact that I'm leaving the country, but the fact that I've never left the country. I've never left for 2 weeks. I've never left without my kids, who are adult children. But I was like, this is huge. But you know what? I felt safe with him and I felt like it's going to be fine. And he helped me with logistics for at home while I was gone. Like we had, someone, popping in doing grocery shopping. And of course, Riley's an adult. My dad came in to kind of be there as well. But I had friends that knew where I was. All the bases were covered. I said, I'm going to do this. Why am I going to do this? Because I want you to understand something. And I think it's really important to share this. But in my previous relationship, I did everything by the book. I mean, when I tell you, by the book, to the point that we did not even kiss until our wedding day. And that was the last kiss in 21 years. It's a whole nother story that I'm not even going to get into, but just use your imagination. But intimacy was a major breakdown. And remember how I started this episode. I was understanding self-awareness. And I was understanding that I will never get into a relationship unless I know that that person is into me, not just emotionally, mentally, but also physically. Now, what does that mean? Don't get crazy. I just wanted to know that he's attracted to me and that, you know what, we have a connection, we built the connection mentally. We built the connection emotionally, spiritually. We had the same values, core values, but like, I wanted to kiss him. I wanted to spend time with him. I wanted to be uninterrupted. This was me, Chaz, versus what he was wanting. He just wanted to take me away and show me the world. And I was like, I'm going to go with you because I trust you. I worked through that. I worked through my past trauma. But in my past, I learned that maybe I should have known a little bit more. So I decided to change it up. And that's what I did. And I went to Italy. And we had the most amazing time. For the sake of time on this podcast, I will just share some highlights. Never left the country. I shared it with you. I was going. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, but I didn't want to put him on camera. And I knew going out of country, you all were going to be like, what? This is huge. Who are you going with? I wasn't taking my kids. So you were going to be like, who are you going with? So that's why I made the announcement that I started dating, but I didn't want to put him on camera just yet because he had never been on social media. He has always remained off of social media, which is one of my most favorite things about him. I think it's so attractive that he just doesn't do it and he just doesn't. And here I am, this is what I do. It's part of my life and it's a part of my business. So I wanted to be very careful of his privacy and till this day will be fiercely protective of his family's privacy. So you will not see his kids. You will not hear me even talk about them. This is me chatting with Chaz and I do want to honor their privacy, but I did want to honor his privacy. And so I didn't show him. So I go to Italy and I'm showing his sneakers, I'm showing our hands and everybody's like, what? We need to see it. Everybody's freaking out. But
it got weird.
It got weird. Everybody was like, who is this guy? And you all want to approve him and make sure he was okay, not a serial killer. But you didn't know that I had already known that because I'd been with him for a year and a half. So anyway, we go to Italy. We get there and we fly into Venice. Now, I never left the country. I knew Venice was like this beautiful canal, amazing like city that's floating, right? but I just didn't like connect all the dots on what I was about to see. I was just really happy to be there with him and him show me, but I wasn't really thinking much more than what I was going to wear and like, oh my gosh, I'm going with this amazing person. I can't believe this is real life. So that's how much I investigated Venice. So we get to the airport, we get our luggage, I ran into one of you at the airport. We get our luggage, and then he's like, "We're gonna go get the taxi." So I'm thinking like a yellow cab, like that's what I know. So we walk out, and it's this body of water and this beautiful boat, wooden boat, and it's our own little boat taking us to Venice. And I'm like, "Wait, what? It's a water taxi?" And then we take this beautiful boat ride. I'm in awe because I'm with him and I'm with this amazing person, and we are just falling in love. And then I pull into this city that's floating and these canals and these bridges. And we were literally going under a bridge and we kissed under the bridge. It was like out of a movie. I was just so happy I could have cried. And I was just like, this is not real. How could this be my life? And I just kept thinking, this can't be real. Like, it just can't be real. Trust issues, right? Coming back again. But he has been so faithful in helping me with my trust. And that is when you know you're with the right person, is someone who is patient and also helps you heal. And every day he was helping me heal, healing me with affirmation, with restoration, like in my soul, and assurance. And it was just a lot of people wouldn't take the time to do that. And he does till this day. So he understands where I came from. I understand where he came from. And we both try to meet each other and heal and love on each other. And I think that's what makes one of the most beautiful thing. So now we're in Venice. It's amazing. We're walking every morning, 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, through these empty streets of Venice, seeing these beautiful pieces of architecture, walking through the markets. I discovered cappuccino, haven't been the same. We just had this amazing time. And then we leave Venice and we head to the cruise to get on the boat. I mean, there were so many things in Venice, but just our friendship, our relationship, everything just got more solidified. So then we get to the boat and we get on the boat. A lot of you watched me. I started Instagramming. I don't think I showed you at all this trip. So he's still like not seen. And so we get on the boat and then we both got sick. I got sick. I woke up in the middle of the night throwing up. He was fantastic. So like first it's a crime scene. Now I'm throwing up. And that's friendship. That's relationship. Like no matter what, he doesn't move. I don't move. We've got each other. And so I was like, I don't know. I've never gotten sick before on a boat. And we were convinced maybe it was just seasickness. I couldn't eat for a couple days, but we powered through. And then he got it. So we both realized we got like the ship virus. So, but the problem was with him, we told them that he had the virus because he got really sick. And we felt like maybe we needed a little more support. But the moral of the story is, even though we were both sick, we were there, we were in a room, we weren't in cathedrals, we weren't running through the streets of Venice. We were in a room together and it was amazing. We didn't have to be out on the ship. We missed like Nice, I think, France. I mean, we missed things, but we just had each other. And I'm telling you, that was an incredible part of our relationship. It was just being together in the worst, really. He was so sick. Then he was such a trooper when we got to Rome and he was barely able to keep it together. I remember he had like tucked his head on the bus to Rome and he could barely like focus. He was so sick, but he just wanted me to see Rome. And we walked through the Vatican together. And I mean, I wept there. It was so moving and emotionally, spiritually. And I mean, we walked the streets that the disciples walked, Peter and Paul and Jesus. And we had the most amazing tour guide. I mean, I could tell you about our travels all day long. It was unbelievable. And he was so sick, but he just was so happy to see me so happy. My joy brings him joy. And that is just something I'm not used to. So that was a beautiful thing. We rounded the trip off. We ended it. We went to Barcelona. That's where the cruise ended. We stayed in Barcelona for a couple days. So he showed me Spain. His goal was just to get me stamps on the passport. And then we got to Amsterdam, and it's another city of canals. And all through this trip, he kept giving me these cards. And I think I started showing you them on camera. You didn't see him, but you saw the day he picked me up for the trip. It was card one. And this will play more of a bigger key to the story. And it was like the first time he'd given me a card. Actually, you did give me a card at the Biltmore, but this was like card one, and he gave me a camera for the travels, and it was wrapped with a pastry, a French pastry. I mean, everything is thoughtful. And then it was card two for day two, day three, day four, and every card had a love note. And let me just tell you, this is why I say don't settle, because even to the point that I love love so much, to find someone who loves it just as much as me, to find someone who will write a love note, that has been like what I craved. I've wanted the Hallmark movie. Do you know what I'm saying? My friends who know me are like, nobody wants love more than you. And it was almost like devastating for them to look on in my life that that's what I didn't have. And then here he comes. So the love notes, the cities, we get to Amsterdam, more, the first card was like, that we're beginning our journey in the cities of canals in Venice, and we're going to end it in Amsterdam with more canals. It rained. We were bike riding in the cold rain. It didn't matter. We pulled over and we had what's it called? The type of waffle? A stroop waffle underneath an awning in Amsterdam, and it was amazing, and it was warm with our bicycles, and we had the best time. No matter what we did, where we went, it didn't matter that we were in Europe. I mean, it was awesome. And he lit up a fire in me for my passion for travel, which I didn't even know I had. But we fell in love in all those cities, even more and more, layer by layer, city by city. It was really remarkable. So we get home, and it's like I remember getting dropped off, and I just didn't want to disconnect from him. And so I went to work one day, and I remember called me, and he's like, "Hey, what you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm doing an install." He's like, "Listen, what are you doing next weekend?" And I'm thinking, "Oh, we're going to do a movie or something." He's like, "I'm going to take you to Paris. You need to meet Santa in Paris. Christmas in Paris." And I'm like, who are you? And so he just wanted to show me the world. And why he did that, I believe, is we just love time together. And number two, he takes joy in serving others and giving other people joy. That's just who he is. And so I think he would just see me light up, and he just kind of got a kick out of it. Now, a lot of you were like, "Oh my gosh, she's so getting love bombed," but none of you knew the foundation we had built already. And so it looked like this was new. And so I kind of giggle from it. I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're love bombing me again." Like he's been love bombing me and he hasn't stopped, because he loves, and he loves me so fully. So anyway, we went to Paris. It was unbelievable. The city of croissants and beautiful hotels. The hotel we stayed at was like a dream. I remember opening the drapes in this hotel, and the Eiffel Tower was in our window. I was like, what? And then every day he had a little box for me. And the first date was a P. The second day was an A, a little diamond A, a little R. And then at the end of the trip, it spelled Paris. And it was just like thoughtfulness. I just kept saying this person. It wasn't just, yeah, these diamond Paris. It's gorgeous. It was the thoughtfulness. It was the cards. It was everything was intentional. Everything was meaningful. Everything was thoughtful. So, I mean, it just was filling me, and it was just the thing that was missing. So, we had a wonderful Christmas. We never did see Santa, even though the Four Seasons was like, "We'll bring Santa to your room." We're like, "No, we have to find him out in the streets." But we didn't. But that was okay. We loved it. We went down the river in a wooden boat and saw the Eiffel Tower. We tried to scale the Eiffel Tower. He learned I'm afraid of heights, so we didn't go. We didn't go to the top, and we learned about each other. And I personally neglected my adventure when I was younger, when I was having kids. I stayed home. I was a homebody. I was home for them. I was home just in case. Even leaving and going on these trips, it was a risk because I always felt like I had to be nearby. I'm the primary parent. So what if? What if? And I was just done with that. I was done with fear operating and owning my life. And I was ready to start adventuring. I was ready to start investing. And I wanted to invest in this relationship in a meaningful, thoughtful, and beautiful way. And that's what these trips were. They were trips to know each other with no distractions. Whether we were in Paris, though, or sitting and watching a show or taking a walk to Avalon or trying to think of just the nothing things that we do together, working together, planning for the week, doing a podcast, whatever it is, we just enjoy that time. We enjoy the everyday stuff. That going to the grocery store together. Like we want to do it together because it's just fun. And then I learn, oh, you like that. And he learns, oh, I like that. Like everything we do together. It doesn't just have to be Paris. So, okay, so the trip planning was amazing. The duration of the trips, it was the duration and destinations. I really believe he was very thoughtful about giving us extra time. And again, we both are entrepreneurs. We both have a hectic life. We both have 3 kids. We both are going in a million directions all the time. So it just was very purposeful to just get to know each other. And I really believe you have to get to know each other. And after these trips, I mean, again, I can't even emphasize it enough. It wasn't just about the destinations, it was about the connection. And we would leave, and I remember I like my heart would hurt when I would not go to sleep with him, and I love my children. They fill my cup. It's not that, but there was a connection. And then we came up with this term, and he did. And he's like, never separate. And he talks about this movie that we watched together. And it's like his biggest fear, like to go into like a gas station and this woman got like kidnapped, right, babe? And he's like, you never separate because, we might lose each other or someone might take you. But it's become like a thing for us. Like we don't want to separate. I have never wanted to be with someone or the fact that I never get tired of him or not bored or just like I'm always engaged. I'm always happy to be with him. I mean, it's a beautiful thing and that's how it should be. That's how it should feel. I've just never known it before. And so it's we never separate. He even on my engagement ring, he put our favorite song had it in um casted it in the ring. And then on the bottom of the ring, he wrote, never separate. And that's like our thing because we don't want to separate. And honestly, knowing from our failures, sometimes time away and this independence in your relationship, it's like, oh, I'm going to go do this, you go do that. I'm independent. I'm independent. That's awesome. It's great that you're independent. And I'm a very independent person, but I don't want to be independent of him. I want us to be connected. And I think that's where a lot of our failures were. Well, you're doing this, that person's doing that, and there's no connection. There's no intention in the relationship, and then it slips away. So both of us come to this with our failures, with our baggage, with our traumas, with our past, and how do we do this right? And this is how we do it. This is how we do it. So, um, we talked about Paris, the travel experiences, the importance of togetherness for both of us. That was, I think, in both of our relationships when we're honest and vulnerable with each other. We were alone in our relationships. And, that's not a great feeling to be feeling alone when you're very much in a marriage or a relationship. So we have purposed that we don't. And I will tell you, he is so great about communicating and so great about reading me and taking the time to read me. And if he feels or if I'm stressed or whatever it is, he can kind of connect into that and be like, we need to talk. We need to kind of reface here. And I'm like, okay, yes, we do. So these are things we've learned that we take into this new relationship. And I think we'll be better for it and stronger for it. And I've never had a more solid foundation in a relationship. So I'm excited. Okay, he's jumping in. Okay. Okay.
Well, I gotta get the time.
So you're gonna meet him, and I don't know what he's gonna say. What is our timer? How am I on time? I was just talking and gushing over you. I talked about personal growth.
I mean, I almost get in. All right.
This is Douglas.
I don't even know where to look in my own videos.
Yes, I feel like you're so
No,
far
it's
over
fine.
there.
Fine, it's good. Fine.
Okay.
No, I think it's yeah, they're perfect. I think it's what's important is that all the baggage and experiences that we went through individually
Mm-hmm.
um has made me a better person and helped me understand who I am better and what I want and what I don't want and dislikes. And I spent a lot of time in my career and focus on my kids and family and work, but we've all been through, I guess I
You have to
looked
look
I
there,
looked
producer.
I got a camera over there too here, but we all have been through tough things in life. I'm not going to go into my story as in detail as Chaz has gone into her story in her life, because I'm very proud of you and what you've done. But it's amazing courage that you have to even get in front of the camera. I mean,
You're here
I
in
know, but
front of the camera.
I do speaking engagements and stuff like that. It's kind of okay, but this is a little different for me.
This is
But
love, him coming in.
yeah, but no, I think that we both started to figure out who we were
Mhm.
individually.
Separately.
And although I've said, and I think we've joked around that um, we wish we would have met earlier in life. My joke has always been, or not a joke, I mean, it's probably a fact, right? Which is we weren't ready for each other.
No, we weren't the people we are today.
No.
And I
So
don't know that it would have worked.
correct. I mean, maybe. I mean,
Yes.
I'd like to think it would.
I mean, yes, but
But I'd
yes.
like to. I mean, the challenge is that you don't really know who you are when you're 20 or 30. You're just developing who you are, and so um, I think I got much more in touch with myself as I turned 50 as well,
Mhm.
and really kind of what I wanted in life and what made me work better inside and who I was, and then to find someone else who had been working on themselves and been through similar struggles to then come together and be like, okay, we do know who we are
Yes.
as a person. And
Mhm.
I came to you with a lot of debris and a lot of transparency about my life.
You did.
And you've been very transparent about your life to me and to them. Um so I mean it's yeah, it's
You were always very honest,
well, no, but I mean
which is what I really
right,
appreciated.
but it's really important. I mean, honesty is important, but also just being prepared to go through this stage of our lives, and after everything has been really big and really meaningful, and allowing yourself that vulnerability to have conversations that might be difficult conversations, or to have um, a fear that if you tell someone something about you, that they may not love you.
Mm.
But what you find out is that when you tell someone what's kind of going on with you and tell them about you, the good, the bad, and the ugly, if they're the right person, they accept it.
Yes.
And that's what you did for me.
Mm.
And
You did it for me too.
so, but I think that's what you did for me. And I think it was freeing to find someone who wasn't conditional, I think is the trick.
I'm gonna cry
And then
right
back on the
here.
love bombing thing, it's so interesting because I remember people saying stuff about
You're easy to love, by the
but
way.
they people,
You're
thank
very
you.
easy to love.
But there's a whole thing about the love bombing, and the thing is that to everyone out there who's a guy, I think that most guys don't try hard enough
You
now.
should love bomb,
No,
actually.
they just don't try hard enough, right? I mean, and there's just too many there's just so many people out there that are trying to measure the game, and I need to do this and follow this checklist, and people are researching people on social media before they get to know them, and
Did
then
you research me?
no.
He told me that.
No, I just meant I met you at a party, right? Dropping off your son,
Yes.
and that's how I met you the first time. But I mean, too many people try to read too much into, well, maybe this is the next step and that's the next step and all this stuff. And you said earlier, which I think is so true. I mean, if you go on a date or you go out with someone or you have a conversation with someone and you want to talk to them again, talk to them again.
Yeah.
Like, don't be like, oh, should I wait a week? I don't want to seem too anxious. And it's just, it's not that hard.
One of
You
the
know what I
things
mean?
about you
It's not that hard.
is you were very direct from the get go. I remember telling Jody, I remember telling her, I'm like, well, she said, she goes, I like him because he knows what he wants. And you were very direct in like your pursuit, not forceful, but like you told me, like, I want to know you. I want to be your friend.
Right.
There was no games. Like, it was honest and it was direct. And I never had to wonder.
Yes.
I never had to wonder.
Friendship was the first and foremost part for me,
Hmm.
right? I'm about to marry my best friend. Um, but at the same time, I'm also, marrying someone who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. But I think so many people just overthink relationships.
Yes.
When they come out of a relationship, so you talked to, I think last time in a podcast, that I encouraged you to go date the first time we went out.
Yes, you did.
I said go date, right? But go out there. Don't overthink the world. Don't be damaged and scarred and feel sad for yourself necessarily. Go through your healing process, but don't close off the world
Yes.
that's out there for you. Um, I mean, of course, I wanted her to date me, but I wasn't.
What if I
I
had
was.
taken your advice and started dating
Look,
someone?
I'm confident that I am confident that God put us in each other's lives,
Yes.
and there was no avoiding each other.
No.
We were going to find each other one way
Destined.
or another.
It's true.
So if you would have gone out and dating, we would have still come back together, because you
Yeah.
would have gotten someone who was overthinking it and figuring out all their texts, and they were, because just but follow your heart, and if it feels right and you want to reach out to someone or talk to someone again, do it. Right?
Don't be afraid.
Don't be
I mean,
afraid.
what do you have to lose? I think that's
And
what
when
I always thought.
right, and then also just be yourself.
Yes.
Right? The good, the bad, the ugly. Because when you good, the bad, the ugly, and you share that with someone and they accept you for that, that's a really freeing feeling. So to go, it was all about getting to know you. That was super important. I think you're just an amazing woman on many levels, from faith to business to a parent to just a fantastic heart. And 80 or 90,000 people fell in love with you before I did. But I was great to get to just peel the layers and figure out who you were, and to show you the world, and to show you everything out there in the world about design and other places you can go and be inspired.
Hmm.
And then at that same time, we're continuing to break down each other's walls and get to know each other. And
What was the hardest thing for you for your walls?
well, we don't need to go into all that, but I
Is it
mean,
too personal?
no, I mean, we could skip all my walls,
Okay. It might be too personal.
but I had a lot of walls in my life for sure.
I do think,
And I was very, very guarded.
you were guarded.
I tend to be very guarded
Yes.
generally. So, and I did avoid social media forever, but it's important for you, and if it inspires other people, because I do want to try to lead by example with faith, lead by example with entrepreneurship, lead by example in what a good and healthy relationship can look like. Not only
Yes.
for everybody on the internet or whoever follows you, but for our kids,
Yes.
and for our family, and for our kind of nuclear group of friends.
Yes.
People can have healthy relationships, and have honest conversations and stuff like that. So,
Even in your 50s.
right, right. But we were all those trips that we took. We learned a lot about each other there, but we also learned a lot about each other, at dinner, or on a bike ride, or a walk, at the park.
One of the most vulnerable moments was at a little park that I don't even know the name of this park, close by to where I used to live. And he just shared a dream of his that, he, which was the RV.
Right.
And he had this RV and he kind of gave it up because he really didn't have anyone to do this with and that enjoyed it or what
They
have.
just weren't as passionate about seeing the world and getting out as I was. I wanted to
Yes.
use it all the time and go out there and have a lot of fun. So I let go of it.
It was really
Chaz,
vulnerable though. It
but
wasn't just about the RV. That was like a moment.
it was a moment. It was a moment. But I think what was important also to know about why I wanted to get another RV was because a lot of your childhood, um, as a lot of people know here, if they haven't listened to your earlier podcasts, and you had a lot of really unfortunate stuff happen to you when you were in your late teens, right? Into or early teens, actually, not even early teens, and until your 20s, early 20s or late 20s, early 20s, but whatever.
19.
But I remember
irrelevant.
I remember you sharing some of the best moments of you as a childhood before all that was when you drove around in the camper with your family, and you got to go places, and your kids got to enjoy places, and you remember as a kid your dad and your mom having a camper, and those being a lot of fun times in your life before everything fell apart. And I think at the end of the day, that's why we named it the camper now.
We call it the camper because my
Because
parents call
it
it.
was also,
Which is so
but it's also a
sweet.
happy time for you. We know it's not a camper. People tell us that's not a camper. Well, we know it's an RV.
But it's my kids always
It's
call
a
my parents a
motorhome.
camper.
We get it, but we call it the camper because the camper was a significant time in Chaz's early childhood where she had a lot of great fond memories about it. And I also have a lot of great love and fun traveling around and doing stuff in it. So I got the RV because I thought it was great for both of us,
Yes.
because it brings back times in your life that were fun and exciting, and it brings back adventure and a sense of spirit for us. So,
And it takes us away together, which is where we just, again, life is so busy. It's just like our own little unit that we can kind of escape and
mhm,
get away from the crazy and the busy. Not that work is crazy, but it's crazy busy.
it's
And
busy.
he has a very, busy work life as well. And so it's been our little, like,
A little getaway.
a little
Yeah,
getaway.
we're like way off whatever the topic was on this.
Well,
But
we were
look,
talking about
I mean,
traveling
but
and
yeah,
how
but
that.
my point was being, it was why I jumped in was, don't overthink relationships and take time to get to know people and be vulnerable and be honest and share your life and share your heart. And when you share your life and share your heart and you're vulnerable, you can find a tremendous love like I have found in you. And I don't love bomb you, like some people like to say. I just love you,
You do.
and I want to show you that every day. If it's taking a trip somewhere, or it's just making sure that you have breakfast in the morning, or that you're having a good day, or if you're having a bad day, let's talk about it. And it's about being supportive, and it's about, just helping each other
Be the
and
best
loving each other,
and loving each other.
right? It's not love bombing, it's just actually
Loving.
loving, right?
Yes.
It's not hard. It's
And you know
not
what's
it's
really
not mischievous, it's not a bad thing, it's
yes,
not deceptive, it's not
yes,
manipulative. It's
preach it.
just love,
Love.
right?
And
And I know that you have a lot of followers that have DM'd you and stuff that describe a love very similar to ours, that have been together a lifetime, that
yes,
traveled and stuff like that.
yes,
And so it's just love. And
it's just love.
I like it, and I enjoy it, and I'm not going to change it, and I'm going to do it for the rest of my life to you, and you can do the same to me, and
It's funny.
it'll be fine.
I
It'll be great.
remember in past relationships, again, I've only had like two, but I wanted this love, right? And so I was like, how do you cultivate it? So I just felt like there was a recipe or a system or a way. And I was just working for it
Yeah,
all the time. I was working for
there
it.
is
And
no
it's like,
system.
well, if you respect me, I'll love you. There's a book, Love and Respect. And if you did this, then I'll feel this. There's it's effortless. And it's just there's not even I just want to love him. I want to make him what he likes to eat. I want to, do something that makes him feel seen, whether it's dropping off a smoothie. So little and it's such a big deal to him. Whatever it is, I just want to love him. He's hard to love because he's 10 steps ahead of me. And so he doesn't need anything.
And I used to be, but I
But
also,
I love loving him and I want to. And he's easy. And that has never felt easy.
but I tried to always used to call myself like a self-contained fighting unit.
Yeah,
Like
you don't have to
I
be
just didn't
anymore.
need people to help me get it done. Like I was just gonna do it. And you've kind of broken that wall down for me, and allowed, kind of taught me that you don't need to be a self-contained fighting unit, and
No,
that someone can help you through that. But I wasn't willing to do that. I had a lot of those walls in my life, but you kind of helped me break down those walls.
we helped each other break down our walls,
So, and that's,
brick by brick.
yeah, stone by stone. And then I
When
used to say, brick by brick and stone by stone, we had walls around our hearts,
yeah,
and then the walls came down and our hearts touched. And
yeah.
here we are now, you know.
In fact, next episode we're gonna talk about the engagement. But the morning of the engagement, he gave me this like puzzle. It's like this metal heart. I shared it on Instagram that morning. He gave me a card, of course, and I'll go more into that. But there was this metal heart, and it was like locked. And he gave it to me because he's like, "You've unlocked my heart." Also in Positano, I do want to share this. He saw this beautiful sculpture years before, and he never bought it. There was a hesitation, and so we go to Positano, and he's like, "I want to find this." Artist, this gallery. I,
Mhm.
I remember seeing this piece and it was so amazing and it was very meaningful to him. And I'll let you share it why it was meaningful.
Okay.
Do you want or
Sure.
not? But
No, because
it's just it's
it's a
a
heart.
beautiful picture.
It's a heart like surrounded like in a cage.
It is a gold heart.
Well, yeah, it's
It's a
all
gold heart.
polished bronze, and there's a bronze heart, gold heart in the center of it.
Yes.
And for me, it kind of signifies, kind of letting that cage down and letting someone in to see your heart.
And there's an openness to the sculpture that he got when we were in Positano and he had it shipped over here.
Yeah.
Because he's like, this is my heart now. I've opened it. And it's this
Well,
beautiful gold heart.
you've helped me open it. So
We helped each other.
right.
Yes.
So the heart,
We healed each other.
it meant a lot to me when I saw it originally, but I just wasn't ready for it.
Hmm.
And I think now I was ready for it. And it's a figure in the home, and it'll be a figure hopefully in our life for many years to come. So
Yes.
yeah,
He's here.
I'm going. I have
Well,
to go.
listen,
I'm gonna let
thank
her
you.
wrap up. I don't
I'm
know.
gonna bring him back
No,
for
I don't know.
the
This might be a
engagement, the
one time
proposal.
appearance. No, a
The
one time
producer.
appearance.
Let me just say while
No,
he's
no,
here,
I'm going.
baby,
Okay.
like this was a dream. This podcast. It didn't even have a name,
No, I'm going.
right? It didn't even
No,
have a
no,
name.
just sliding out here.
And
Just keep going.
no,
Bye bye. No, going. It's too much.
And
Too much.
I do want to share this though. I remember dreaming about this.
There you go.
I met someone, another company, which they were lovely in Nashville, and I was like, I want to do this podcast. This is what I want to talk about, and I wanted to go deeper with you, and but I didn't have the means to do it. It was expensive. It was a pricey endeavor for something that you don't make money doing. It was just a passion project. So I couldn't like take the money from my business to just put this out there because I just wanted to talk to you and inspire you. It's truly what I love to do. And Douglas knows that. I'm about the people, I'm about the heart, I'm about the inspiration. That's what I am created for. So he knows that. So one day I was going to a football game, to a travel game to watch my son. And I was going to be gone most of the day. And we had talked about this. I got the quote from the other company. I was like, it's so expensive. And I just kind of gone back and forth. Well, I'll just buy a camera. Maybe I could do it myself. And he is like this tech guy and he just knows how to operate everything. He can do anything. And I came back and he had a studio in his family room and it was all set up and he goes, we can film a podcast today. And I was like, what? That is someone who sees you. That is someone who not only sees you, but knows your passion and your makeup and is like, I can help you and I'm going to do whatever I can to support you. Having that partnership in my life has just been unbelievable. Whether it's a podcast, whether it's going to the gym together, whether it's parenting together, whether it's walking in faith together, it's the partnership. I say he's my soulmate. So, anyway, next week, we will not, belabor this whole thing, but I do believe in love. I just watched the Martha Stewart documentary, and I'm going to end with this. I love Martha. I've always loved Martha. I think she is a total like badass. Can I say that, right? I think she's incredible. She is the first woman billionaire. I mean, she had her own publishing company and she was a creator. She was the original influencer, right? Of home and all things beautiful. And so I love her. So I wanted to watch this documentary and it's in her own words. But one of the things, there were so many things that I was just in awe about. And I was telling Douglas, like I've thought about it for days since I watched it.
Yeah, and it's on Netflix.
Thank you, honey. It's on Netflix. Just details. And it's on Netflix, but I could even watch it again. But two things stood out to me. Number one, she had it all. But at the end of this show, and I won't spoil it, you have to watch it. It's so interesting. She's on a tractor on this beautiful rambling estate by herself. Throughout the documentary, she's on her phone sending notes to her gardener. There's no one alongside of her. There's no one in front of her. It's her just walking through her beautiful estate. And I just couldn't help see that she was alone. She's built an incredible brand and business and life, and she probably has all the money she will ever need. But to me, I think the priceless stuff in life, finding love, that was what I grieved. I had found success. I had amazing kids. I felt, really like I finally took control of my life and my health and all the things. Very content, very happy. But in the distance, I realized the one thing I never really found was a belonging and a love that was unconditional and passionate, emotional, faith filled. Like I just, it's what's the word? Eluded me. And I looked at her story and I thought, thank you, Jesus. I might not have this huge brand, I might not have this or that, but I've got what matters. And I have this amazing family. My family's going to be bigger. I have this amazing love of my life. I do have this incredible brand. My cup is full. So I hope you have the courage to fill your cup and not be afraid to go on that date, to have that cup of coffee or hot chocolate, and to just say, but what if? Maybe not think the worst, but maybe believe the best. And I've always said the best is yet to come. And today I'm walking in it. So I hope you enjoyed this episode and you met Douglas, my fiance. Wedding is soon. We'll talk next week about the engagement. What's that, honey? And don't forget to follow. See, such a good producer. Don't forget to follow Linen and Flax Co. on Instagram, Chatting with Chaz on Instagram, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're a visual person, we tape this. We're filming this. You can go to YouTube and follow Chatting with Chaz on YouTube. Also, Spotify, if you're going to listen to it on your walk, Apple Music, you can find us.
But they definitely want to watch the video version as well. Maybe
next week, watch the video version. Go to YouTube, subscribe, because we're putting out our engagement video. He had it documented because he just knows. And he knows I'm a moments person. Baby, end it with this. You know my biggest fear. What is my biggest fear?
That you might not be able to remember your life and things if you had dementia like your mother.
Yes. So he documents everything for me, whether it's a card, a note, a photograph. He'll take my camera. He lets me take the endless pictures. He lets me take the selfies of us. He just knows. And then he documented our engagement because he knew I would just want to treasure it forever, because my biggest fear is I'm going to have dementia and forget all this amazingness. Not going to happen. And I'm going to share it with you too. So thanks for joining us today. I'm so glad you got to meet my boyfriend, fiance, and we'll talk to you next week on Chatting with Chaz. Until then, I'll see you soon.